How's the weather going to be tomorrow, James?
Well, it kind of is.
Since it's already tomorrow over there.
Yeah, it's already tomorrow. Very nice. I think a high of 28 Celsius, which I'll quickly convert that.
Much more comfortable than it is over here.
That's 82 Fahrenheit. So yeah, it sounds pretty nice.
That whole southern hemisphere thing. You guys are getting the summertime right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's perfect weather for cricket, which is Australia's sport of choice for summertime.
Can't say I've ever played. I don't think we play much cricket over here in the States. Have you ever played cricket, David?
No, I haven't.
There's actually a bit of interesting history about cricket in the States. It was quite popular. I'm trying to think back to when it was, but I think like early 1900s. But the thing is that the cricket clubs tended to be like upper class country clubs, and what happened is regular class people weren't allowed to play, and then baseball took over from cricket as the nation's sport.
Yeah, my understanding is they're fairly similar sports.
Yeah, if you imagine you've got home base and first base and nothing else, and then you've got a runner on each that run back and forth, then you've got a rough idea of what cricket is.
Okay.
Yeah. I hear the games can go for like days at a time too, right?
Yeah, there are a couple of formats. We've got the test match, which is the 5-day match. And actually that used to be unlimited as well, so it could go longer. But eventually they thought, let's make it 7 days first, and then let's limit it to 5 days, which is pretty good. But the hot new thing in cricket is 2020. You play 20 overs and the whole match only lasts 3 hours. So that's what a lot of people watch now. So do you have like a winter sport that most people play over there?
I don't think we have anything definitive. Like, even as far as winter sports go, the only one that comes to the top of my head is hockey, and that's more of a Canadian thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to find too many people out in the streets playing it or anything.
Yeah.
Well, football season's still going too, though.
That's true. Yeah, I guess we play football in the winter, or American football in the winter. I do a lot of skiing, but I don't think that's necessarily normal.
Man, I'd love to have some snow here. It literally never snows, so there's no sort of snow sport. Well, should we kick off with the last topic, which is that FaceTime calls should have an option to answer through FaceTime audio. And that came up because Skype was, well, actually, it wasn't actually a Skype problem in the end, but we were having trouble adding Christian to the call. And David said that we should have like a multi-person FaceTime calls. How good would that be?
I swear, I thought that was going to be in iOS 11. So disappointed when it didn't come.
I think I remember reading at some point in the last few months that there was some kind of patent issue preventing Apple from adding like multi-call support to FaceTime. I'm not sure if that's true, but I think I saw that recently.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I mean, you know, maybe Skype has a patent on that, but that just seems like one of those things where you can't really patent that.
Right.
It's such like a universal thing that I don't know how anybody could claim that as intellectual property, but U.S. patent laws are just great.
It's not like Skype is the only one that has that. There's plenty of other platforms that have multi-calls.
Well, I think it has more to do with the underlying technology that FaceTime uses. I don't know if you all remember in 2010 when FaceTime was introduced alongside the iPhone 4, Steve Jobs actually made a point to say that FaceTime was going to be an open standard that could be used across computers and iPhones and Android devices, and that never came to fruition. I believe that was because the technology that FaceTime uses was facing some patent issues, and I think that's what slowed down the development of it since then.
Yeah, that's right. I heard that the team behind FaceTime was actually shocked when Steve said that it would be open sourced, because he kind of just did it on a whim.
Oh, really?
And they were not prepared for that at all. Yeah.
That's a very un-Apple thing to do.
To actually make this podcast, I was thinking that we use iCloud Notes to actually share the notes. We use iMessage to coordinate things behind the scenes. I mean, I schedule it in Calendar, use QuickTime to record the audio, use Logic Pro to edit the audio.
Right.
And then we have to use Skype, owned by Microsoft, at the core of it all.
I remember a long time ago there was the chat application we could get for our Macs, but that still leveraged like AOL or whatever instant messaging service you wanted to use to communicate with people.
Right.
But they've never had like their own technology for group chats. But I'd be all for it if they figure it out.
You can actually still add those old protocols to the Messages app, can't you, on macOS? Like you can add Jabber and other such things.
Oh, can you really?
Yeah.
It's not something I've ever tried to use, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've kept that functionality around.
Yeah, it's still around. Just add it to your accounts and then iMessage.
Wow.
I mean, I don't see a whole lot of people using AIM anymore, but that was, that's what I had in there to begin with when they first made the switch over. But yeah, that's dead now too, isn't it?
Yeah, just earlier this month. It was discontinued.
All right, yeah.
And now, I don't know what people tend to use, but like for the development teams I'm on, we use like Slack, and I'm not sure that iMessage has support for that.
Yeah, I don't think it does, but yeah, we use Slack as well.
That's what Apple needs to go after, is trying to make iMessage more widespread, allowing it to run on other devices, allowing like some kind of multi-chat option. and compete with the likes of Slack instead of trying to focus iMessage against Facebook Messenger or something like that.
Yeah, I think the real reason, well, maybe not the real reason, but it's an iPhone exclusive thing. So if it becomes a part of another Android device, some people may just end up switching. I think I saw a video with, again, on Unbox Therapy. He was at CES and had everybody pull out whatever phone they had in their pockets, all the YouTube reviewers. And most of them, the reason they had an iPhone was because iMessage. Yeah, it was because of iMessage. So I think if they even opened it up and put iMessage on an Android, they may just not buy an iPhone ever again.
Yeah, like I didn't watch that, but I saw I got really close watching it because it was just like, you know how YouTube recommends stuff and some things it just doesn't stop recommending it until you watch it.
Yeah.
That was one of those things, so I was going to watch it, but I never got around to it.
So, I don't know. I mean, with them opening up Apple Music to Android last year, I feel like that might be a direction they're looking at least.
Have you seen Apple actually try to add features to iMessage, though, recently? iMessage in the cloud?
Yeah. Oh, no. Don't even
That's true.
Yep.
That doesn't exist.
I don't know what they're planning on with that now. If they've just pretended it didn't happen, or if they're still planning on releasing it in a later version of iOS 11, or what.
Well, I think out of this podcast and the last one we did last week, I've learned a lot of things that Apple has said and not done that I've forgotten about. So it could be possible. This may just end up being another one of those things where like, oh yeah, we never said that.
I'll edit this whole section out.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to be working in the early betas. Like before iOS 11 was released, iMessage in the cloud worked great. So I don't know. Maybe it was the number of users. Their servers couldn't handle that many people at once, but I don't know what their thoughts are on that.
Back to the post, though. Genital Gestapo says they should unify all of the call app interfaces into a single one with video support for the apps that need it. And they kind of have done something like that with CallKit. Now when you get a call from Facebook Messenger or Skype or whatever, your phone rings just like a standard phone, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's not all unified into one app, but I don't think the other apps would ever support that. Yeah, it's actually not too bad as it is.
I mean, I'd definitely be interested if they'd build FaceTime into the phone app itself. And while they're at it, why don't they remove the Contacts app, since we already have Contacts built into the call app as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of useless phone things. There's the phone app, FaceTime app, and then the Contacts app. And I could just go do all those in the phone app.
All three of them are just in like a subfolder somewhere for me.
Yeah, I've tried to bring myself to delete some of those unnecessary apps, but for some reason, maybe it's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome, but after having all these default apps on my phone for 10 years, I can't bring myself to delete them now that I have the option to.
You're not one of those people that also has the default app layout, are you?
I actually am. I've got my first page is the default app layout, and my second page is all folders with the apps I've downloaded afterwards.
I think my first page has a little bit different, but it's very, very close to the default one.
I'm also one of those people that just use my phone for a phone, though, so the default apps are all I really need.
Yeah, I find myself I have a lot of apps that I just don't use, but yeah, everything's on one page, so I've rearranged it all, but I think it's been in the same layout for the last, 5 years. Not really download anything else, but yeah, half the stuff on there I don't even touch.
Yeah, gone are the early days of iOS, or iPhone OS as it was called, where you just download every app that looks good and end up with 100 apps there.
And there's no folders, so there's like 50 pages on your device.
Well, remember how iMessage kind of took over from messages? So if you're sending a text message and the other person's on an iPhone, it just sends as an iMessage. Well, Weed Whacking says, why isn't that an option for FaceTime audio as well?
I think there may be an issue with handing off. Like if you're on a FaceTime audio call and you stepped out of your home or your Wi-Fi range and you need to switch over to either cellular data or just your whatever cell phone voice frequency or whatever, it might not be possible or very difficult to do that seamlessly, and that could be the only holdup that I can think of.
Yeah, the only other thing that I could attribute it to is just data in general. I mean, I know they have unlimited plans again too, but because it goes through data and you're already paying for minutes on your phone, just to default that way, and just eat through it. And when you have, unlimited calling regardless. So. Right.
The call quality is so much better on FaceTime audio though.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely try to use it whenever possible. iOS 12.
And at the same time, Apple's going to let you choose what your default browser is and your default mail app. And
yeah, right.
Your default keyboard.
Man, I've tried to use third-party keyboards since, iOS 9 that it was introduced?
Yeah.
And the problem with me is consistency. Like, they seem to perform fine for me, but the fact that depending on where I invoke a keyboard, I'll get either the third-party keyboard I've chosen or Apple's default one makes it impossible. Because if I start getting used to the swipe keyboard when I'm in messages, but then I try to do a quick reply from the home screen and it pulls to the default keyboard, any efficiency I've got from that swipe keyboard is lost, and I don't see the purpose in having them.
Yeah, I barely use them. I think I use the Google's one for a little while.
Yeah, I have a bunch, but I only use one.
Oh, I think that's enough about FaceTime. All right, let's start the show. All right, who's ready? Let's talk about Toyota and CarPlay. Vulcan93 posts that Toyota concedes and reveals plans to launch first cars with Apple CarPlay from 2019. Just reading the article, it's actually going to be wired CarPlay, which to me seems crazy for 2019, especially now that Qi charging is a thing. It would just be ideal just to get in the car, put your phone in like a center console, or maybe there's like a little slot for your phone. It's charging. It's wirelessly connected to your dash, so you've got the CarPlay, navigation, messages, and all that. There's no fiddling around with cables. There's no like fiddly little air vent mounts, which just piss me off to no end.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, does anyone here have CarPlay?
No.
No, I've got a 2015 Volkswagen, so I miss out by 1 year.
I actually went and bought a third party head unit for my car so that I could have CarPlay. And that was probably 6 months ago.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. I don't think it was too much. I think it was maybe $600 or $700, and then I installed it myself, so I don't have to pay the extra installation fees. But to get all the features of CarPlay, it's definitely been worth it. I didn't have to buy a new car to do it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had no idea you could do that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's been a couple of years. I think you've been able to buy the third-party units, and mine's wired only as well. But wasn't such an issue for me, especially at the time, because wireless charging wasn't an option, and I always opted to charge my phone in the car anyway. So whether I'm plugging it into charge or plugging it into CarPlay didn't make a difference.
It's still a decent amount of money to drop for a third-party accessory. I suppose you can always take it out of the car if you decide to sell it or and put it in a new car, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, as long as you hold on to the old radio, you could always swap them back out.
Yeah. So is it just like a standard double DIN setup?
Yeah, it's a double DIN unit. It's made by Sony, and it's got, the most unappealing name ever. It's just some boring like DX100-05 or something. But yeah, it's just a standard double DIN head unit. There's no fancy connections or anything you need to do. You'll plug into your existing microphone if your car's new enough to have a microphone built in, or it comes with a microphone, and then you got access to all the features of CarPlay.
You say it comes with a microphone built in, and if you want it.
So it'd be like an external wired microphone you plug into the back of the head unit, and then you can opt to mount this microphone wherever in your car is most convenient for you and can get a good reception of your voice. So you can use things like Siri.
Yeah, that sounds ideal, because every car microphone setup I've ever used has been terrible. I don't think it's because of the microphones. I think it's because whatever Bluetooth protocol the head units use to connect, it's just not clear. Actually, what I do is I've got my phone connected to the unit through Bluetooth, and then I just talk to my Apple Watch. So it's a lot closer to my mouth. It doesn't really work for calls, but for any navigation or starting music, starting podcasts, whatever, I just use my watch. Actually works pretty well.
Is OnStar a thing in Australia? Have you heard of OnStar?
I've heard the name, but maybe only through reading articles. What is it?
So it's built into cars. It's been probably for the last decade or so. Like most American cars have had it. It's a subscription service that is like emergency alerts. So if you get into a crash, it'll automatically call the authorities or the paramedics and let them know that you're in a crash. And also you can pay to have them give you like turn-by-turn directions through your car's radio, and you can even make phone calls through it, like get a separate phone number just for your car.
Wow.
So I've never felt the need to have that since I carry my cell phone with me anywhere, but my car does, or it was set up to support that, and so I leveraged the existing microphone, which is pretty good in OnStar, to run my head unit through.
Speaking of subscription services, have you seen that BMW is now going to charge $80 a year for someone to have CarPlay?
Now that seems ridiculous.
Why? Exactly.
Well, their reasoning was, instead of charging a new car buyer $300 to have it installed, when a lot of BMW owners only lease the car for 1 or 2 years, they're actually saving money by making it an annual fee. That was their reasoning, at least.
I don't see it. Especially when you can just
Yeah,
buy,
I don't either.
When you can just buy a third-party head unit to install. The subscription service seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing actively happening on the back end, is there, for them to have to keep up infrastructure costs or anything to support it. You just put it in and it works through your phone. So
yeah, literally the only cost for BMW is to pay the once-off fee to be an MFI, made for whatever, on a device manufacturer. There's that license fee, but after that, it doesn't cost them anything.
It just seems like, a way for a luxury car manufacturer to nickel and dime their customers who are already spending a fortune on a car.
good thing I drive a Honda, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I guess at least they're supporting it. They're so many car manufacturers that still don't support it, that at least people have an option if they want to pay for it.
True.
So one of the other topics to reach the top post status is from user Veles Barza, and he's discovered that the multi-touch improvements in iOS 11 are not very widely known about. You could pick up an app, the usual when you hold your finger down on an app to make them jiggle and move them around. You can grab one app with one finger and then use another finger to swipe screens or open folders. And you can even pick up more apps and it groups them together with that first app, so you can drag multiple apps through multiple screens all at the same time, which is actually pretty nice. Although it sounds like you guys just have default screens, so you're maybe not moving apps around too much.
Actually, I just moved I have my first page as the default, mostly default, I guess you could say, but the rest of it is all just a bunch of different app pages I've done myself, and I thought that was widely known, I guess, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, a lot of this is the expansion of Apple's drag and drop implementation they did for the iPad on iOS 11. And actually the most frustrating thing for me about this is they weren't very clear about which drag and drop features from the iPad they were going to bring to the iPhone. So things like cross-app drag and drop usually doesn't work, but there's a few applications where you can like drag a file or something between them if you multitask out and into another one. It actually seems like it's maybe a glitch or something that causes it to even work, because I don't think it's intended. Yeah, this parity between iPhone and iPad coming with iOS 11, even though the iPad is way improved starting last year, it's been a little confusing trying to figure out which things work on which devices now.
Yeah, for instance, in the Photos app on an iPad, you can pick up photos, multiple photos, and then drag them to another app. But on an iPhone, you can't drag a photo anywhere. There's nowhere for it to go. It won't even jump to your finger.
Right.
Yeah, the iPad features are pretty powerful, although I don't know, I just don't tend to find that I use them in day to day. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I'm just stuck in pre-iOS 11 world, but I'm fully aware of what they do. I just don't use them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Just I think from using the iPhone all day, you just get used to not doing it, and then going to something else, you kind of just forget that you can and still do stuff the same way you've been doing them all day.
Yeah, I'd say the feature I use the most on the iPad itself would just be the ability to have not only split windows, but also being able to like slide in an app from the side. I usually use my text messages. I'll slide those in from the side and respond, and then slide it back out of the way. And I can still have my two apps side by side running, as well as a picture-in-picture window running on top of those if I want to watch a YouTube video or something.
You must have the 12-inch iPad to do that.
I do, yeah.
Thing is huge.
It's pretty great. I can use it as secondary display for my MacBook Pro if I'm on the go.
Do you use Duet Display for that?
I do.
I tried using Duet Display. I only had the 9-inch iPad Pro at the time I was trying it though, so it wasn't that compelling to use. I guess the screen is just too small, but I imagine with the 12-inch it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you can also use the iPad in like, what do you call it? Like Wacom mode, is that true?
I've seen that that's an option. I've never used it personally, though. The most compelling feature for me with Duet is that it kind of adds a touchscreen aspect to macOS, because you can still interact with it like through the touchscreen like you would on normal iPad applications, and there's not very much latency, so it works pretty well with macOS, except for the small touch targets.
So do you mirror the Mac's display to the iPad, or is it an extended display?
I use it as an extended display, so usually, like if I'm on the go working in Xcode, I'll have Xcode running on my MacBook Pro, and then off to the side, I'll be reading either specifications or reading stack traces or something like that.
Do you actually have to keep it wired in, or does that work wirelessly?
It works over USB, which helps with reducing latency.
And why not just plug in another screen to your computer?
Well, if you're on the go, that would require carrying another monitor around with you, and you'd have to plug it into external power, whereas the iPad powers itself.
Yeah, I thought you were bringing this thing into work or something with you, and just like, I don't need your monitor, I'll use my...
No, this is just on the go.
I'll use my iPad.
Yeah.
This is prime Road Warrior multi-monitor setup.
That's exactly right.
Do we have any Star Wars fans in the house?
I mean, I've seen them.
Here.
That does not sound
No.
like a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I can't say I'm passionate. I haven't seen any of the new stuff since Disney bought Star Wars. So
Gotcha.
Christian?
Yeah.
Please?
Yeah. What about it?
Oh. God damn it.
Okay.
We can just skip this next topic then.
Well, I mean, like, I guess I don't know really what to say about it.
I guess the answer is no one here is very passionate about Star Wars.
Oh, I am. I just don't know what to say. I read that post when was posted, and I just was like, okay, and moved on to the next thing. What else do you do? Write a script or paper or anything else on a computer? So I don't know.
So the post that Christian's talking about is by P.D. McMahon, who says that the screenplay for The Last Jedi was written on a dedicated air-gapped MacBook Air to prevent leaks, which basically means that the MacBook wasn't ever connected to a Wi-Fi network. And the writer and director Ryan Johnson said that the laptop was also kept in a safe at the studio when he wasn't using it, so there's a fair bit of security around there.
Gosh.
This was actually one of the top posts, but the reason I chose it is because I thought we could talk about Star Wars, but I guess we'll just not.
Little overkill, wouldn't you think? Like a safe?
Yeah, I don't know, man. People are pretty fanatic about it. Somebody might break into their office to take the script.
Yeah, I was at Star Wars Celebration 2015 in Anaheim, and they had this for not their most recent one, but the one before Rogue One. They had this, like, I don't know what it was. For this panel they had for Rogue One, they had something, and it was probably like a drive or something that had all these pictures or whatever that they used to put up on display in the panel, because they didn't have a trailer because it was too early in development. So they just showed like pictures of the set and what they have had and finished. And so after it was done and before, they had like it in this giant metal protected safe like thing and was like escorted out with like 2 guards holding it. That is like that, and the safe thing with the MacBook Air are both very similar.
Well, I mean, maybe Apple should take some notes, and maybe they'll have to stop having all these leaks, start putting their stuff in, in safes.
Maybe they're already doing it, and that's why we're not getting all these new features, because it's just so much work getting to that MacBook Air running Xcode to code iMessage.
Yeah, I think the most interesting aspect to me from this post is that they used a MacBook Air.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were really aiming for portability, why wouldn't they use something newer like a MacBook? Or, I mean, for something as big as writing a Star Wars, script, I'd even say, why don't you have a MacBook Pro? Such an outdated machine with a low resolution display would seems to be uncomfortable to sit down and write a whole movie in front of.
Yeah, and you got to think they're anticipating to make a whole lot of money from this movie, so why not buy something a bit flashier?
They're trying to be nondescript here. You don't expect the screenplay to be written on a MacBook Air, so you're not going to go after it if you find it.
Maybe that's it.
It's camouflage, guys. Come on.
The only aspect I thought of is like, maybe they favored the kind of old-fashioned keyboard in the MacBook Air, and they don't like the new butterfly mechanisms for long typing sessions.
They also need to, I don't know. I would say they also need to take care of their own leaks of their own stuff. But I don't know about you guys, but for some reason feel like that they're finally getting a hold on all their like product leaks, because this year I have not seen near as many like iPhone leaks or anything. There have been.
We're only 21 days into the year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you get what I mean. But still, at this point, there was a lot every year, so maybe they're finally getting down on them.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this last one before the iPhone 10 came out, we kind of knew what it was going to be before it got here.
Yeah, there definitely wasn't any surprises.
I think Animojis was the only thing that was a surprise.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean. So, I mean, they need to cut down on something, because I think even the years before that, I mean, we kind of knew some stuff, but this year it was just like, well, do I even need to attend this keynote, or can we just skip it?
The only thing they really had under wraps was, like, before last year was software, but even now that's leaking out. Like, we had that HomePod leak. Actually, that HomePod leak was what had all the iPhone 10 glyphs and things in it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was big.
Someone got fired.
Probably the same guy who left his iPhone 4 at a bar.
Yep, like, okay, we'll give you one more chance.
And now he works at Gizmodo.
Yep.
I think since about 2010 with the iPhone 4, there hasn't really been any real surprises in hardware. We've pretty much known what to expect since about that time.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a result of the company getting so big and so many hands having to be on all these products. We have entire factories of workers making these products. It's almost impossible to keep everyone quiet.
Yeah, especially knowing they can make money by just, snapping a few photos while they're there or taking it with them. So.
Right.
It's funny when something comes out that is either blatantly, obviously fake, or something that either Apple or maybe not put out there just to throw everyone off.
Yeah. Do you guys remember, it has to be 2011, before the 4S came out, there were a lot of rumors of a teardrop-shaped iPhone?
No.
No, I do not.
No one recalls that?
Yeah, no, I do remember it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was substantiated or not, but it was supposed to look a lot more similar to the iPod Touch, ultra thin on one end to kind of get thicker towards the top where the camera module would be. I don't know if that was actually true rumor, as like a drop design, or what happened with that, but everyone was basically like, it was basically confirmed for quite a few months that it was going to be a teardrop designed iPhone come out in 2011.
Did you sneak a pun in there as well, that they dropped the design? Only 40 minutes. Nice.
I'll take credit for that pun.
Yeah, you should. Isn't it the original Pixel's got that sort of design where there's no camera bump because it gets a little bit fatter on top?
Oh, does it? I can't say I've looked too closely at the Pixel phone.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I definitely wouldn't mind losing the camera bump, especially on the iPhone 10. It's getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's really big.
Using it on a flat surface is basically becoming impossible at this point.
That's it's rocking on its camera bump.
Yes, definitely. You sure that wasn't an earthquake in Sydney?
In Sydney? You've got no idea where I am, do you? You're just picking up.
I mean, that's the only place I know in Australia, man. I don't know what you want from me.
Oh my god.
No, I'm actually on the west coast of Australia. So I think that's around 3,500 k's from Sydney.
Oh, wow.
Right, so it happened a while ago. It's just now reaching you.
Yeah, Sydney no longer exists, and I'm just feeling the aftershocks here.
Exactly.
I think Australia is just about as wide as the mainland USA, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I can't say I've ever tried to compare those.
I can tell you it's about 3,000 miles coast to coast, so I'm not sure what that is in kilometers or how big, but...
Yeah, it's almost 5,000 k's. Yeah, so maybe a touch more than Australia.
Okay.
Is that including Alaska, though?
No, that's not including Alaska.
No, okay.
Alaska itself is almost as wide as the entire continental United States.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, it's much bigger than it's represented on maps.
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
Well, just because of the shape of the globe and Alaska being towards the top, it tends to appear a lot smaller than it actually is. But yeah, it's almost as big as our entire country.
Wow, that's amazing.
A lot of nothing, too. Just ice and polar bears.
We went from Star Wars MacBook Air to Alaska.
The only thing I know about Alaska is that book and movie. I think, is it Into the Wild? Have you guys read or seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Except that the guy dies in the end. That's pretty sad.
Well, don't spoil it for everyone.
Spoiler
Jeez. Come on, man.
This is an old movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it by now, then you don't really need to see it.
They're already mad at us.
What, for talking about Alaska or something else did I miss?
We're not Star Wars fans.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That'll do it.
We already lost most of our audience.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, this is going to be horrible to edit. Man, to try and talk about that MacBook Air that's been air-gapped without mentioning anything about not liking Star Wars. It'll be like
Just splice it up to make it sound like we all say we love Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, one by one. Someone say we, someone love, someone Star Wars. All right, go.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. So this is a little more of a serious topic posted by West222 that, what is it, no tracking, no revenue. Apple's privacy feature costs ad companies millions. I don't know, I'm not too sad about that, really.
Oh my gosh. Props to Apple for this. Like, this really shows how dedicated they are to the security of their customers. Like, with recent events and things that happened in the past with FBI and other stuff, they still continue to make that like their number one.
Yeah, and just to be clear on that, or this specifically, they're not blocking ads entirely, just tracking. So when you go to a website and you happen to click on an ad, it puts a little cookie on you, and then it follows you around to every other website you go to. So when you end up at, 3 sites later, it'll show you that same ad again, but it'll just be a retargeted ad that says, hey, come back and buy this from us.
Yeah, between things like this and Apple standing up to the FBI on things like breaking the encryption on their phones, I mean, these are some of the big reasons I really still support Apple.
Yeah, it's definitely weird for me, just because I work for a digital marketing company.
Right.
So it's kind of affecting us. I mean, we haven't really talked about it, but specifically for our industry too, because we only work with like consider purchases, so car manufacturers, home furnishings, doctors, kind of stuff that you're not just going to go online and look one time and then go and buy, but you're probably going to look for months at. So the whole retargeting thing is huge into what we we use. So I don't have a problem with being tracked, quite honestly. Most of the time that it even happens is when you actually click on an ad. So I could see where accidental clicking is then you get followed around. But again, if you're looking at something and you click on an ad, you clearly want it, and we're still going to try to get you to come back and look at our stuff. But most of the stuff, again, it's all anonymous as well, so they have no idea it's you and what you specifically are looking at. They know that a computer did this, and they have no idea where you are or what you've done. So I don't have that much of a problem with it. Maybe I'm playing devil's advocate on this one, but...
Yeah, my problem with targeted ads aren't really the fact that I'm being tracked. It's things like I look at a product on Amazon for a gift, or I buy something on Amazon, and then for months after that, all I see is that same product being advertised to me that I've either already bought, or it's not relevant to me because it's a one-time purchase that I bought for someone else.
What you should do is once a month go and shop for something that you'd like to see pictures follow you around. Maybe shop for like swimsuit, maybe not one that's for you, and then for months after that you'll be followed around. But anyway, so as far as I'm aware, Google has actually worked around the tracking thing anyway by making their cookies first party instead of third party cookies, and they're not being blocked.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that was actually posted in a comment by the Mac Man on the topic, which is, it's interesting. I also read that like the tracking was so pervasive that these advertising companies could fairly well build up a complete picture of your browsing history as you went through your day using a computer. Maybe David, you could shed some more light on that.
So yeah, I mean, technically, yes, they can. But again, if they don't know it's you, James, in Australia, they know that, they could look at all of your data and figure out what you're looking at every day, but they can't tie that directly to you. They just know a person went day by day looking at these things. So again, which I don't have that much of a problem with. And even if somebody did want to track everything they do online, they're going to get rather bored. But yeah, that's just me personally.
So which of you guys uses ad blockers? Because then you're not even seeing these ads at all.
I don't use any ad blockers. Although I do remember when this was announced, alongside this was also Safari was supposed to stop auto-playing media when you visited websites.
Yeah, that came in macOS High Sierra.
Yeah, that, and I think it was also added in the latest version of iOS. Maybe it's just me, may have a setting wrong, but I've never actually gotten that to work. I still have videos autoplay whenever I visit websites, like always.
Yeah, it works on some websites, I have noticed, but it's definitely not 100% of them.
The funny thing is I do use an ad blocker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You put yourself out of business.
I know. It's fine. I'm not buying a car, so it's all right.
So you don't like being tracked because you don't see the results of you being tracked?
No. I don't mind being tracked. I don't like seeing ads in general.
Okay.
But the best part is, too, because a lot of the times we'll have customers who log into our platform to go and view their ads or their metrics on their ads they're running with us. And 9 times out of 10, they'll call in and be like, yeah, I can't see anything. Your website's not working. And I'm like, oh, well, it's probably because you have an ad block on. And you're trying to look at ads. So you should probably take that off.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Isn't it the latest version of Chrome? Actually, you can't say the latest version of Chrome because that'll be outdated tomorrow. But they're blocking the more obnoxious sort of in-your-face ads now as well, which is pretty nice of them. Although you wonder what hidden motive Google has to do that.
I'm sure a lot.
Yeah, they're blocking stuff that's not being, helped or posted by them.
Exactly. I wouldn't put it past them. And that's the thing about most of this stuff that they're trying to implement for privacy, too. They're trying to get the bad people advertising for crap and making you subscribe to some system that's never going to work or some Ponzi scheme. And in the process of it, they're still hurting people who are doing it legitimately without any I can't say that word. Alternative motive.
Ulterior.
Yeah. Ulterior. One of those A words.
That's just kind of the price people have to pay now that we've gotten to this version of the web where no one wants to pay for everything, so everything has to be paid for with advertisements. If people were willing to pay more for things like YouTube or whatever news they read online, then maybe we wouldn't have as many ads everywhere.
Yeah, and companies like YouTube have tried alternatives. You've got the YouTube Red where you can actually remove ads, which is pretty nice, although I think it's around $10 a month, which is it's reasonably cheap. I guess cheap's pretty relative, but just judging on my stats, because I do have at the moment, monetized YouTube account, and it's like 1 or 2% of people watching videos are actually using YouTube Red. There's not a whole lot of people who subscribed.
Were you affected by YouTube's new partner policy they just announced?
I was just about to ask.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Same.
So I actually meet the watch time per year, but I've never pushed to get any subscribers.
Right.
So I've got a couple of hundred subscribers, and the watch time, what was it, 2,400 hours per year? Or actually, I'm just pulling that out.
I think it was 4,000. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah,
what it was.
4,000.
Yeah, it was 4,000, and you have to have 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, okay. So I've actually met the watch time, but not the subscribers. So I was making a little bit off YouTube.
Yeah.
It wasn't much, but it might pay for an iPhone once a year. But yeah, that'll be gone.
Feels bad, man.
Oh yeah, I was definitely less fruitful than you. I guess I was making probably about half that, like maybe a few hundred a year. But it was just kind of fun. Not that this will stop me necessarily from making videos, because I was never doing it for the money in the first place.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the outrage confuses me, because are these people who are all so angry really just doing it for the money, or are they doing it because they like making YouTube videos?
And also, the people that were affected were the people that weren't really making much money anyway, so you shouldn't be that upset about it.
Christian, did you say you've got a channel as well?
Yeah, I don't meet any of the requirements though. So,
Yeah.
but before that, on my AdSense, you know how it has the first one. It sends you your first one when you reach I think it's $100. I haven't checked in a while, so I don't know where it is. But I was making my way there, so I don't know what happens now. Now I guess maybe I have to wait until I reach those requirements, and then I can start progressing up to that first.
Yeah, so you have until February 20th to meet those requirements to keep the money that you have now. And if you don't, then it's gone. So.
Oh, I thought you could close your AdSense account and then they would check out whatever money was there. Oh no, that would only be if you'd already made that.
Yeah, I think if you haven't reached the minimum, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's disheartening for a whole load of people.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a bit of a change. I remember when YouTube started. It was like 2006, 2007, around there. And the content that was posted back then is so different than what it was today. Because back then everyone was doing it for fun, and now it seems everyone's trying to make money on their videos. Maybe we'll kind of get back to those lighthearted videos from when YouTube started, now that everyone's not so worried about making money.
I so hope so.
And the content creators who are actually making decent stuff are gonna, go viral or hit that 1,000 viewers in no time, really.
Right. Yeah. So there's still not that much of a barrier to entry. It's not like you would quit your job before you got 1,000 subscribers anyway.
No, I think I heard somewhere that the stat for quitting your job is 200,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I think that's about what it takes.
And you can't always connect subscribers with the money you're making, because there are some channels with like millions of subscribers who don't hit that many views.
Yeah, it's all about views.
So yeah, it's around that. And to go with that, it's around 20,000 podcast subscribers to quit your job. So for each one of us to quit our jobs, 80,000. That's our target.
What?
Is there a way for us to keep track of the number of subscribers we have?
To keep track of them.
Just serve them ads.
Yeah, the iTunes podcast app doesn't necessarily say how many subscribers a podcast has.
No, so Apple released podcast analytics in a beta about a month ago. So it doesn't actually have a subscriber count. It's got a unique device account, total listened minutes, and average listened minutes. So I can see those stats, but that's just the Apple Podcast app, as far as I can tell, because the stats are pretty wildly different to actually what I see on the web server stats. I don't think it'll track like Overcast listeners and Pocket Casts and whatever people are using.
Right.
And yeah, subscribers, I haven't seen that number anyway, so no.
We just need to wait till someone like MeUndies contacts us to run ads.
And let's take a little break for our first sponsor.
Have you all heard of Audible?
Okay.
Or Blue Microphone.
So what does Audible do? No. All right. Do you guys want to wrap up? So my Reddit username is JamesVDM.
Mine is Jellywoot with zeros for O's.
My terrible Reddit username is the Serial Vapist.
Mine's Lord Mythoclast.
It's almost as good as the Serial Vapist. You will be able to find the link to the post in the show notes where you can discuss this episode if you want. We'll see if we get any posts in there. I'll try and post it on the Apple subreddit. If not, maybe the kinder, friendlier, younger brother, the iPhone subreddit, or maybe I'll just make our own subreddit. I don't know. The r/the Apple Show. Wait, no, I got that way wrong.
r/the r/.
r/the r/. Good stuff.
Perfect. See you guys in 2 weeks.